So how can parents have an impact in all this? First thing they can do is get involved. So that for some parents, that might just mean getting involved, means signing their child up for it, getting their child to the practices, and then standing on the sideline and clapping their hands in support of their child. Other parents that may have more time or more interest or more experience may want to get involved from the coaching side of it. Establish the philosophy and goals of the community youth sport program. So make sure that the parent is buying into whatever goals that the recreation or community or league has and supporting those beliefs at home. So reinforcing what the community has established. Examining their own attitudes. So why does the parent have the child involved in sport? Is the parent being positive? What are different things that parents can do to make the experience as beneficial as possible for their child? But it starts with examining their own attitudes and asking very specific questions after activities so that it doesn't become about how the child did, but more general about how did the child have fun, did they have a positive experience, and did they try their best, those types of things, as opposed to, I saw you missed the ball. So again, examining parental attitudes. Educating participants involved and involving children in decisions is another thing that parents can do and have an impact in. So making sure that the participants are educated in the rules, making sure that the parents understand the expectations of them, and again, getting children's input when needed and when wanted. Teach both the sports skills and the life skills. So this is one of the most important things I think parents can do, is make sure that their child's learning the skills on the field, but also reinforcing the life skills that we want them to get out of this. So if sport is executed properly, we can get these positive life lessons that transfer from the field to real life situations off the field, but it's important that we have high expectations for these behaviors on the field. So if we allow our child to throw their water bottle down after an event, chances are in a school setting, they're going to throw their pencil down when they're frustrated. So recognizing that what we allow on the field is going to transfer off the field, and having those high expectations in both places and being consistent is important. And having respect and support for coaches is very, very, very critical, that parents, even if they don't agree with the coach, that they're treating the coach with respect, and that they're showing their child that even though you're frustrated, there's a proper way to handle this. And whether that's having the child talk to the coach, not the parent talk to the coach about the child, but having the child talk to the coach, or it may just be sometimes you get to play, sometimes you don't get to play, but that's how it is. But respecting and supporting the coaches, not being that parent that stands in the crowd and screams at the coach and says, "That's terrible, why'd you do that?" That's not teaching the child positivity in a sports setting. Developing a sports personship code of conduct. So that's something that's important, is again, exhibiting sportsmanship on and off the field. Educating the fans, so again, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. So these are all things that parents can do, okay? And sometimes I've been at sports events where the parents are screaming at the referee, and the referee made a great call. So it could be something as simple as, actually, that was a good call because of these reasons, all right? But educating fans would be another thing that parents can do. And one of the most important things would be modeling good behavior. So at the sporting events, after the sporting events, if you want to have a conversation, having it when your child is not around so that they don't hear you saying negative things about the coach in front of them, or about other fans, and that type of thing. So just really modeling good behavior. And that goes outside of that as well. So if we really believe that being physically active is important, trying to model that behavior so that our children see us living that behavior and being active. What do kids want? So this is where this often clashes with some of the things that kids are receiving in youth sport and what they really want. So if we ask kids what they want, the number one thing they want out of a sports experience is fun. So our youth want to have fun, and we talk about something called the theory of flow, and people are happiest when the challenges that they're facing are something that they can overcome. So they're challenged, but it's not an impossible task for them, but it's not too easy. So if it's too easy, they're going to be bored. If it's too challenging, challenging, they're going to give up. So finding that balance with regard to the theory of flow and keeping in mind that the number one thing that kids want out of youth sport is to have fun, and thinking about what fun means to a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, and creating that particular environment for them. Kids also want activity and involvement. So if we see a long line at a practice, we're going to find our youth are going to be bored. Oftentimes when children are bored, that leads to misbehaviors. So keeping children active and involved is important. If there's an opportunity, instead of having one long line, break the drill into stations. So you have a short line here, 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 and here. You have 4 short lines instead of one long line. Or have a station where one group's running bases, one group is throwing and catching, one group's hitting off a tee. That's another way to divide youth into stations so that they can be active and engaged. Because when they're bored, we have problems. And then constantly thinking about improvement and skill building. So how can we improve? How can we get to the child from one level to the next level without it being overwhelming to them? Youth also are interested in the physical thrill. So one thing that they like is just the physical competition itself. So providing them with that and remembering that they're not going to get the physical thrill if they're that same kid that's sitting on the bench the whole time. Children also want the social aspect. They want friendships when they participate in youth sport. So allowing these friendships to blossom, obviously respecting that we need to be active and engaged when on the field, but also allowing these friendships to naturally develop. Another thing children are interested in with regard to youth sport is social recognition. And it doesn't have to be that, your child gets this huge trophy at the end of the season, but what they mean, what youth are typically referring to through interviews with them with social recognition is just, being recognized for their effort or for their skill on the field. So recognizing the most skilled, but also making an effort to find those that are not as skilled and making sure that everybody gets a compliment before they leave practice that day. Something along those lines. Youth also enjoy competition. So as I mentioned earlier, keeping things as competitive as possible, not having these lopsided teams, or if there are these lopsided teams, modifying it to make it competitive so that then that feeds back into the theory of flow and the fun factor for youth. And then obviously youth like attention. So providing each of them with as much attention as possible.